Imagine a Hollywood starlet, young and beautiful, found brutally murdered in broad daylight, her body meticulously posed. This isn't a movie script. This is the true story of Elizabeth Short, famously known as the Black Dahlia. For over 75 years, her killer has walked free. What secrets does this enduring Hollywood mystery still hold? You think you know Hollywood's darkest secrets? Think again. In 1947, the gruesome discovery of Elizabeth Short's body shocked a nation, her case becoming one of the most infamous unsolved murders in history. We're going to dive deep into the unsettling details and the chilling theories that have kept this case alive for decades. Are you ready to confront the truth? What if the most notorious unsolved murder in Hollywood history could still be cracked? The Black Dahlia case, the chilling 1947 murder of Elizabeth Short, remains a cultural obsession. We'll explore the evidence, the suspects, and the enduring questions surrounding this perplexing tragedy. Can we piece together the truth that has eluded investigators for generations? In the bustling heart of Los Angeles, during January 1947, the city was riding high on the waves of a post-war economic boom. Soldiers were returning home, industries were thriving, and Hollywood was glittering brighter than ever, drawing in countless dreamers from across the country, all hoping to catch their big break in the movie. But beneath this veneer of glamour and opportunity lurked a darker side, a world of transient lives, desperate ambitions, and hidden dangers that could turn deadly in an instant. It was into this intoxicating yet perilous environment that Elizabeth Short stepped, a young woman whose life would end in unimaginable horror, forever etching her name into the annals of true crime. Elizabeth Short was born on July 29, 1924, in Hyde Park, a neighborhood in Boston, Massachusetts. She was the third of 5 daughters in a working-class family. Her father, Cleo Short, built miniature golf courses until the Great Depression hit hard in 1929, wiping out his business and leading him to fake his own death by abandoning his car near a bridge, presumably to escape his debts and start anew. The family believed he had committed suicide until years later, when he resurfaced in California, alive but estranged. Elizabeth's mother, Phoebe, raised the girls alone in Medford, Massachusetts, working as a bookkeeper to make ends meet. From a young age, Elizabeth, or Betty as she was often called, suffered from severe asthma and bronchitis, conditions that plagued her throughout her life. At just 15, she underwent major lung surgery, and doctors advised her to spend winters in warmer climates to ease her breathing. So she began shuttling between Massachusetts and Miami, Florida, staying with family, friends, and working odd jobs. Education wasn't a priority for Elizabeth. She dropped out of Medford High School during her sophomore year. Instead, she dreamed of something bigger, Hollywood stardom. In 1942, at 18, she reconnected with her father in Vallejo, California, but their reunion was short-lived due to arguments over her lifestyle and his expectations for her to keep house. She moved out and found work as a civilian clerk at Camp Cook, now Vandenberg Space Force Base, near Lompoc. There, she was voted the camp cutie and enjoyed the attention from soldiers, but her time was marred by an abusive relationship with an Army sergeant. In September 1943, at 19, she was arrested in Santa Barbara for underage drinking while out with servicemen. The authorities took her fingerprints and mugshot, which would later prove crucial in identifying her body, and sent her back east on a bus. But Elizabeth couldn't stay away from the West Coast for long. She returned to Florida, where she met Major Matthew Michael Gordon Jr., a decorated Army Air Force officer. They fell in love, and he proposed marriage while recovering from a plane crash injury in India. Tragically, Gordon died in a second crash on August 10, 1945, just before the end of World War II, leaving Elizabeth heartbroken and claiming to be his widow to garner sympathy and support. By July 1946, Elizabeth had made her way to Los Angeles, staying with an old Air Force acquaintance, Lieutenant Joseph Gordon Fickling, though their relationship was rocky. She lived a nomadic life, bouncing between cheap hotels, rooming houses, and friends, couches in Hollywood and Long Beach. She worked as a waitress, rented a room behind the Florentine Gardens nightclub on Hollywood Boulevard, and mingled in the vibrant, but seedy nightlife scene. Described as strikingly beautiful with pale skin, blue eyes, and jet black hair often adorned with dahlia flowers, she aspired to be an actress, but never landed any roles or even screen tests. Her days were filled with fleeting romances and the constant hustle for survival in a city that chewed up, spat out dreamers like her. Her last known movements began on January 1947, when she returned from a brief trip to San Diego with Robert "Red" Manley, a 25-year-old, married salesman she had met. Manley drove her to the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, where she checked her luggage and was last seen alive, allegedly making phone calls in the lobby, and later spotted at the nearby Crown Grill cocktail lounge, about 6 blocks away. Then, tragedy struck. On the crisp morning of January 15, 1947, a local housewife named Betty Bersinger was walking with her 3-year-old daughter along a quiet residential street in the developing Leimert Park neighborhood. What she initially mistook for a discarded store mannequin in a vacant lot on South Norton Avenue, between Coliseum Street and West 39th Street, turned out to be something far more horrifying. Elizabeth Short's nude body lay there, severed cleanly at the waist into 2 halves, posed grotesquely with her arms raised above her head in a bent position, her legs spread apart, and her face slashed from the corners of her mouth to her ears in what resembled a macabre Glasgow smile. The body had been meticulously drained of blood, washed clean, and arranged with surgical precision, suggesting the killer had medical knowledge or experience. Deep lacerations marred her thighs and breasts, portions of flesh had been removed, and her intestines had been neatly tucked under her buttocks. A heel print was visible on the ground nearby, and a cement sack containing watery blood droplets hinted at how the body might have been transported. There was no blood at the scene, indicating she had been killed elsewhere, possibly held captive for days, tortured, and then dumped in this public spot for maximum shock value. The discovery sent shockwaves through Los Angeles and the nation. Police arrived quickly, cordoning off the area as crowds gathered, drawn by the sirens and whispers of horror. The Los Angeles Police Department launched one of the largest investigations in its history, involving over 750 officers, including deputies from the Sheriff's Department and State Patrol. The public reaction was immediate and intense, a mix of revulsion, fear, and morbid fascination. Newspapers splashed the story across front pages, and the city was gripped by paranoia, with women afraid to walk alone and parents warning their daughters about the dangers of Hollywood's underbelly. Elizabeth Short, once a hopeful young woman chasing dreams, had become the Black Dahlia, a name coined by the press inspired by her dark attire, and the recent film noir, The Blue Dahlia, turning her into a symbol of tragic beauty and brutal violence. As the investigation unfolded, a web of whispers and rumors began to weave around the case, pointing to early theories and a parade of suspects that would confound detectives for years. From the outset, the LAPD faced immense challenges. The crime scene yielded little forensic evidence due to the body's cleaning, and leads were scarce despite the high-profile nature of the murder. Detectives pieced together Elizabeth's final days, interviewing anyone who might have known her. Red Manley, the last person confirmed to have seen her alive, was brought in for questioning. He admitted to driving her from San Diego and dropping her at the Biltmore, but passed a polygraph test and provided an alibi, so he was released. Attention to her social circles. Elizabeth had a reputation for transient relationships, often connecting with men through what were dubbed Lonely Hearts Clubs or casual encounters in bars and nightclubs. Theories emerged that a jealous lover or spurned suitor might have snapped, driven by rage or possessiveness. High-profile suspects soon entered the fray. One of the most enduring is Dr. George Hill Hodel, a brilliant but enigmatic physician with ties to Los Angeles elite and a reputation for dark interests, including surrealist art and alleged involvement in underground parties. Hodel's name surfaced early but gained traction decades later through his son, Steve Hodel, a retired LAPD detective who, in his 2003 book, Black Dahlia Avenger, claimed his father was the killer. Steve pointed to evidence like photographs of a dark-haired woman, resembling Elizabeth found among George's possessions, soil samples from Hodel's Hollywood home, the Soden house that tested positive for human remains, and a cement sack matching one found at the crime scene. Moreover, secret LAPD wiretaps from 1950 captured George saying incriminating things like, "Supposin' I did kill the Black Dahlia." George's medical expertise could explain the precise bisection of the body, and he had been a suspect in other crimes, including the alleged incest with his daughter Tamar. Despite this, he was never charged and fled to Asia in 1950, dying in 1999. Other early suspects included Mark Hansen, a nightclub owner whose name was embossed on an address book sent to the press by someone claiming to be the killer. Elizabeth had stayed at Hansen's club, the Florentine Gardens, and he was questioned about possible romantic entanglements, but no solid evidence linked him. Leslie Dillon, a bellboy and aspiring writer with mortuary experience, became a person of interest after contacting psychiatrist Dr. J. Paul DeRiver, claiming knowledge of the murder. Dillon was interrogated intensively, but a botched setup led to his release, and he later sued the LAPD. Over 60 people confessed during the initial frenzy, most dismissed as cranks seeking attention, but the sheer volume overwhelmed investigators. Theories ranged from a botched abortion, given cuts to her reproductive organs, to connections with organized crime like mobster Bugsy Siegel, or even serial killers active in the era, such as the Cleveland torso murderer, due dissimilarities in dismemberment styles. The lack of immediate leads fueled public frustration, with the LAPD criticized for incompetence. By February 1947, the case was already cooling, despite a $10,000 reward offered by city officials. A grand jury in 1949 probed the department's handling, revealing systemic issues, but no breakthroughs. The investigation's early phase was marked by tantalizing taunts from the alleged killer. On January 21, a caller to the Los Angeles Examiner congratulated the paper on its coverage and promised to send souvenirs. Sure enough, on January 24th, a package arrived containing Elizabeth's birth certificate, social security card, photos, and an address book, all wiped with gasoline to remove fingerprints. Paste-up letters followed, including one saying, "Here it is. Turning in wed January 29, 10 a.m. Had my fun at police. Black Dahlia Avenger, but the surrender never happened." These communications kept hope alive, but ultimately led nowhere, as fingerprint searches by the FBI yielded no match. The media frenzy surrounding the Black Dahlia case transformed a tragic murder into a national obsession, exploiting every grisly detail and perpetuating myths that endure to this day. In 1947, Los Angeles boasted multiple competing newspapers, each vying for scoops in a cutthroat environment. The Los Angeles Examiner and Herald Express, owned by William Randolph Hearst, led the charge, dubbing Elizabeth the Black Dahlia, based on her love of sheer black dresses and a play on the film, The Blue Dahlia. This nickname stuck, overshadowing her real identity and painting her as a mysterious femme fatale rather than a struggling young woman. Reporters sensationalized her life, fabricating stories of her as a promiscuous party girl, or even a prostitute, though evidence suggests she was more of a drifter relying on charm and sympathy. The press hounded her family, publishing lurid photos and details, including close-ups of her mutilated body that were leaked or staged for shock value. This exploitation reflected Hollywood's dark underbelly, a place where young women like Elizabeth arrived full of hope, only to face exploitation, rejection, and danger. The case became a symbol of the industry's hidden temptations, the lure of fame masking poverty, abuse, and moral decay. Newspapers offered rewards, coordinated with police, and even helped identify her via the FBI fingerprint match. But their involvement often hindered the investigation by contaminating leads and encouraging hoaxers. The story dominated headlines for over a month, with 35 consecutive days of front-page coverage, fueling public hysteria and turning the murder into entertainment. The Black Dahlia's impact on pop culture has been profound and lasting. Books like James Ellroy's 1987 novel, The Black Dahlia, which fictionalized the case as part of his LA quartet, brought it to new generations, blending fact with noir fiction. Films followed, including Brian De Palma's 2006 adaptation starring Scarlett Johansson and Josh Hartnett, though it received mixed reviews for its melodramatic take. True crime documentaries, podcasts, and TV specials abound, from unsolved mysteries to recent series like I Am the Night, loosely based on the Hodel theory. Music groups like the death metal band The Black Dahlia murder drew inspiration, and video games incorporated elements. The case embodies the classic Hollywood noir archetype: shadowy figures, corruption, and unsolved enigmas, keeping it alive as a cautionary tale and a canvas for speculation. Even as decades passed, efforts to unravel the clues continued, with modern investigations breathing new life into contradictory evidence and theories that keep the debate raging. Advances in forensic science have prompted repeated revisits to the case. In the 1990s and 2000s, DNA technology was applied to preserved evidence, such as the letters sent to the press, but results were inconclusive due to degradation and contamination from handling over the years. The LAPD's cold case unit has periodically reviewed files, but with many original witnesses deceased and evidence scattered, progress is slow. In 2012, Steve Hodel's team excavated parts of the Soden house, finding soil positive for human decomposition markers, but not definitively linked to Elizabeth. Handwriting analysis on the taunting letters has been debated, with some experts matching it to George Hodel's, others not. Confessions and theories have proliferated over the years. Over 500 people have claimed responsibility since 1947, from death row inmates to attention seekers, none verified. Janice Knowlton, in her 1995 book, Daddy Equals the Black Dahlia Killer, accused her father George Knowlton, leading to a 1991 excavation of his property that found only unrelated items. Pio Eatwell's 2017 book Black Dahlia, Red Rose posits that Leslie Dillon killed Elizabeth at the behest of Mark Hansen. Supported by alleged LAPD corruption and cover-ups. Noun, cover-ups. Links to other crimes persist. Similarities to the 1946 Chicago lipstick killer case or the Cleveland torso murders, 1934, 1938, where bodies were dismembered similarly, suggest a serial offender, possibly a traveling surgeon. Some theorize a connection to Georgette Bauerdorf's 1944 murder, given social overlaps but no concrete ties. The ongoing debate centers on key evidence: the address book with Hansen's name, the cement sack, the precise surgical cuts indicating medical knowledge, and the taunting communications. Were the letters genuine or hoaxes? Did corruption in the LAPD, rife in the 1940s with scandals, hinder justice? These contradictions ensure the case remains a hotbed for amateur sleuths and professionals alike, with online forums dissecting every detail. What is it about the Black Dahlia that continues to captivate us after more than 7 decades? The allure of the unknown is powerful. Humans crave closure, and an unsolved mystery like this one leaves a void we can't resist filling with our own imaginations. Elizabeth's short story is the perfect noir archetype. A beautiful victim in a corrupt city. Her death a blend of glamour and gore that mirrors the duality of Hollywood itself. It's a tale that warns of the dangers lurking behind the spotlight, where dreams can shatter into nightmares. The psychological impact is profound. The brutality shocks, the lack of justice frustrates, and the endless theories engage our detective instincts. Even today, the quest for justice persists. Family members, like Elizabeth's sisters who lived into old age denying the myths about her, hoped for answers. True crime enthusiasts scour archives, petition for DNA retesting, and debate on platforms like Reddit. Recent developments, such as the 2024 article hinting at new evidence potentially reviving the case, keep hope flickering. Yet, with time eroding evidence and suspects long dead, the Black Dahlia may forever remain an open wound in American crime history, a symbol of the unsolved, the enigmatic, and the eternally fascinating. Until definitive proof emerges, Elizabeth Short rests as the Black Dahlia, her secrets buried with her, whispering from the shadows for someone to finally listen.